The Second World War occupies a special place in this common memory. The year 2025 is the year of the 80th anniversary of victory of the Great Patriotic War and the year of the end of the Second World War. The USSR and India, each on their own front, made an invaluable contribution to the victory over Nazism. Millions of Russian and Indian soldiers have become a symbol of courage of those tough days. We remember our famous marshals, generals, and admirals who won glorious victories. But there is no victory without weaponry, tanks, artillery, aircraft, battleships, even small arms. Everybody heard about multiple launch rocket systems with woman's name Katyusha that became a nightmare for foreign invaders. Therefore, I'm going to remind you about great constructors who created the weapon of victory. And of course, about the feat of labor of ordinary people like everybody here, who built the weapon days and nights to hasten the victory. Today, you had the opportunity to look by what means the Red Army gained the victory over fascism. Nazi Germany made almost every European country to work for its unhuman plans. I would like to assure you that nowadays, Russian defense industry can produce powerful and reliable weapons, not only to protect ourselves, but to make our friends stronger. At the exhibition, you can also see worldwide well-known arms like air defense systems S-400, Triumph, Panzer S-1, fighters Su and MiG, tanks T-90S, frigates, and of course BrahMos rocket systems, which are our common value. We have many other good examples of our military technical cooperation between our countries as well. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the exhibition.
Thank you so much, Mr. Karchenko. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Roman Babushkin, Consular Envoy of the Russian Federation to Ukraine.
Sofia, दोस्तों, सज्जनों, देवियों, साथियों, रूसी घर है आपका हार्दिक स्वागत, क्योंकि जो एक्सिबिशन हम आयोजित किया, ये पहली बार किया रूसी घर में। इसलिए सब आपको दोस्तों को आने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This exhibition will continue for 1 year. So we will close this next year on 9th of the May, again in the day of the victory. But today we would like to start the good practice to write down your impressions and your wishes about this exhibition, so this will inspire us for much more interesting projects in the future. So now.
Yeah, that's it, sir. That's it. Fantastic. Fantastic.
And a common understanding of global developments, be the Second World War, decolonization of Cold War, 1970s, has always been based on real, not situational goodwill, equality, mutual benefit and support. but never targeted against any other country. That's why we have naturally gained a solid immunity from many external factors, and even deliberate attempts to disrupt our partnership over false pretexts. Dependence-based configuration. It will contradict the entire nature of our proximity that has always been driven by our national interests. Look around you, just in the hall which we have inaugurated this exhibition. Just a few among many, but the best units that we jointly produce, share, and offer. We produce hypersonic missiles soon. Main battle tanks, Su-72 D-19, jets Su-30, stealth frigates, AK-203 rifles, and many others. We share the best air defense systems within the S4 contract. And what we do offer is the Su-57 fifth generation fighter jet Ducati rating. All that opens up even greater potential of co-development and co-production and even jointly enter third markets. But we don't stop even here, since our engagements go much beyond and find practical dimensions in the Indra reservices exercises and joint military drills, Milan projects, as well as structured interagency dialogue. Yesterday, our leaders spoke to each other, and it just was another demonstration how close our leaderships are. So they have a perfect sense of mutual understanding and, as we call it, mutual chemistry. Moreover, Russia is ready to share with India its experience gained through this special military observation, as well as successfully performed equipment. To achieve an advantage on the battlefield, one should be one step ahead technologically. So we focus on the development of laser, unmanned complexes, space, and artificial intelligence capabilities. In fact, Russia has to resist the whole NATO potential after it could not let the West use Ukraine to collectively pressurize Russia and to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. Many just realize time and again that Russia cannot be defeated, especially if it stands to protect its own people and Russian-speaking population, which was announced the target and subject to genocide by Nelson neo-Nazi Kiev regime that hijacked the power in Ukraine in 2014 with the direct support from the West. This year, when we mark the 80th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War against Nazism in Europe, for which the Soviet Union made the largest contribution and paid the heaviest price by losing 27 million people, we also officially dedicated to the defense of Mother Russia. The memory of those heroes who were fighting the enemy, working 24/7 in factory and field to supply the army with weapons and food, who were brutally killed in concentration camps, and all those who were resisting in everyday life in starvation and hardship, is sacred for every Russian. That's why we say no one and nothing is forgotten. Being grateful to everyone that war to make our country alive and give us the future we enjoy today. To avoid such devastating conflicts in future, we call upon all nations to always remember the lessons from the Second World War and in good faith follow the UN Charter principles of sovereign equality of all nations, mutual respect, non-interference in domestic affairs, collective responsibility for peace and security, which shall be undivided, meaning that no one shall ensure its own security at the expense of others. We are sincerely grateful to India to share all these feelings and values with us, since we were fighting together in that war 80 years ago, shoulder to shoulder, and even 4 Indian officers were decorated with the Soviet military awards, ornaments, and medals. So, this shared history is obviously an undeniable part of Russia-India strategic partnership. And having said that, I'd like to emphasize the huge importance of this day and the topic of today's event, in the Russian House in New Delhi. I thank the organizers, all the participants and guests for valuable contribution to make our meeting today very remarkable and forward-looking. Thank you very much.
Agreement between the government of the Russian Federation and the government of the Republic of India on military cooperation from early 1993, as well as more than 20 other intergovernmental agreements, including documents on military technical cooperation, which I will not mention in my address. Nowadays, our military cooperation almost fully recovered after pandemic of COVID-2019 and first half years of special military cooperation. Minister of State for Defense Raksha Mantri Shri Sanjay Seth is going to Moscow for grand events on behalf of the 80th anniversary of victory in the Great Patriotic War. Raksha Mantri could not come personally but asked to wish all the best to Russian countries. In Russia, Indian officers can learn the newest experience of special military operation, which is the real sample of future wars, with huge number of various types of drones. They receive the same information as their Russian colleagues. Talking about military exercises, I can say that we are doing our best to strengthen our interoperability, solidarity, and mutual respect. We are real brothers in arms, and we can rely on each other. I personally participated in several exercises and air shows, and I am frank to say that I like the way that Indian pilots fly on Russian-made aircrafts like MiG and Sukhoi fighters. They are very, very good professionals. There were intra-Navy naval exercise held in February this year. This year we are looking for Avia Indra later this year in Russia and Indra Army Edition in India. We are glad that our Indian partners are to take chair in Indian Ocean Naval Symposium this November. Indian side, as a future chairman of IONC and S, have already invited Russian battleship to take part in next edition of Milan Naval. Our Chief of Naval Staff for Chief of Naval Staff Conclave. Of course, the main annual event is session of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission of Military and Military Technical Cooperation. The 21st session was co-chaired by Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh and Russian Defense Minister Mr. Andrei Belousov in Moscow on December 10th, 2024. That time, Raksha Mantri emphasized that the India-Russian relationship is very strong and has lived up to the responsibilities of a special and privileged strategic partnership. The next section of Russian-India Intergovernmental Commission of Military and Military Technical Cooperation on the chair of Honorable Defense Minister will take place in New Delhi in the end of this year. Today you have an opportunity to see our exhibition of the weapon of victory from the period of the World War II and nowadays. We invite you to come to Moscow and visit the International Military Technical Forum named Armia 2025 this autumn, where you can learn everything about modern arms and future warfare. Thank you for your attention.
Countries are developing steadily. Countries are working together on products, research and development, and also export of defense products. This interaction is the basis of our multifaceted relationship. We admire the many decades of pure success of this area and look forward to future opportunities to contribute to the development of India's defense capabilities. The distinctive future of India-Russian military technical cooperation includes mutual readiness, to take into account each other's interests, as well as a high degree of adaptability to changing conditions. It's a truly time-tested partnership. At the moment, Russia is the only country that is ready to share advanced technologies with them today. System of Soviet or Russian original constitute over 50% of India's weaponry, rising to 90% of sentient sectors like armored vehicle and fighter aircrafts. We have a very solid presence in this market and are prepared to compete with our countries. Let me give you several examples for how strong bilateral defense ties are. Russian original T-72 and T-90 main battle tanks and BMP-2 infantry fighting vehicles are the backbone of India's armored and mechanized formation. In the Air Force, Su-30 is the mainstay of the fighter fleet. In the Indian Navy, one of the two aircraft carriers, Vikramaditya, was serviced from Russia, as were Kilo-class submarines, most numerous among submarines inducted by the Navy.